Hey up everyone, it's Rory from Enlighten the Shadows. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode, which is episode 14. I've got here with me my guest. He's an up and running guy, he's an active fella, and I'm really excited to talk with him about some of his inspiration, some of his passion, and how we can enlighten you fellas today as you watch this episode. It should be no longer than an hour as usual. But before we get and speak to Des from Do Running, what I want to say to you is thank you as always for all the support. We're all about making men's mental health better in this country and across the seas as well internationally, as long as the information gets out there. So before we say hello to Des, just lastly, what I want to say is, can you get on YouTube, get on Enlighten the Shadows, this page, and press that red button, which is subscribe. There's about 60 something of us right now that's on that journey, but I appreciate if we can just get more and more of you. Don't just get behind the screen, but really get amongst it. Press that subscribe, and then also on our social media, on our handle is at Enlighten the SH1. And if you're struggling with anything in your life, us fellas are here for you. We've got a disclaimer that will come across you on the email, but coming on the screen right now is our email address. It's the same handle as our social, so it's at enlightenthesh1@gmail.com. So guys, here we are, we're here. What an amazing set. We've got the River Trent behind us. We've got people cycling and running by. But we just want to say, Des, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And it's great to meet. I know you and I, we met through social media, I believe. And then also, I'm a work colleague of mine, Cam. But yeah, do you like to just tell us and myself what you get up to, what Do Running is, and when did it start?
Oh, Rory, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, so basically 5 years ago, I took up running.
Yeah.
I was in a tricky position in my life.
Yeah.
Probably the worst I've ever felt, to be honest. I was looking. I'd never really considered where I was or taking stock of what I was doing. I just kind of doing what we all do, tend to do from time to time, just moving forward, one day at a time. And then found myself without a job, found myself single after a long relationship, kind of looking about and thinking, God, all my friends are doing different things, going different ways. I had the same friends I'd had for many years from school and from sort of being a teenager, and then they were all getting married. I was kind of looking at what I do next, really. A bit worried about the way things are going. Started for the first time in my life really to look at my own mental health and realise it might be not in a place it should be.
Yeah.
So despite many sort of attempts over all my life really, I decided to go out for a run.
Just by yourself?
Yeah. I sort of peaked at my highest weight. Since my early 20s, I was always really active. I played football when I was younger, I played for teams, but I just gradually put weight on, and again, it was one of these things. I kind of looked in the mirror one day and thought, a little bit too much now. I always had this sort of intention of losing it. It was always a temporary thing, but it wasn't temporary, it was just going on. So what I decided to do basically was lose some weight. I actually, at possibly my lowest point in all that, I was talking to a guy, and when I say I didn't particularly respect him, it doesn't mean it wasn't someone I really looked up to or knew too well, but some guy said to me when I was talking about job interviews and kind of feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and he said to me, lose 2 stone, go to these interviews, you're more than capable, and you'll just start smashing it before you know it. You'll lose, you'll feel better, you'll be sat there with your shoulders out. And like I said, I had nothing against the guy who said it to me, but he's not somebody who knew me too well or I knew too well. And it just stuck with me, it just really stuck in my mind. And at that point, I needed to lose 5 or 6 stone. I felt, and I was perhaps reaching too high, trying to start running and doing it too soon. And trying to lose too much weight at once. And so over the last the 10 years before that, I probably started running for a week, thought I was on it, and then gave up like everybody else does. And it was just this thing about the 2 stone, and whilst I know I needed to lose a lot more, I set myself 3 little targets. It's kind of it was February 2015, well, January, February, and I basically set myself a target for that year to get a job, to lose 2 stone. And I can't even remember what they were. I genuinely.
Yeah.
But basically, what I did is I changed my diet. So the first thing I started doing was to try and change my diet, and I lost 2 stone in 8 weeks.
In 8 weeks?
Just by cutting 3 things out of my diet, which was chocolate, savouries, and like pastries and bread.
Oh my gosh, right, so viewers, as you are seeing this right now from Des, take note. Was it chocolate, pastries and bread?
Yeah.
That was that, 2 stone in 8 weeks. That's a lot, guys, so maybe that's something to think about.
And what I was doing there, I lost that weight, and it was obviously I was starting to feel all these benefits, you know, what the guy said, I was starting to feel confident. And I got a job in that time as well. That might have just been coincidence, you know, but I'd got a job, so there was 2 other things ticked off, and I'd already done it. And then I carried on this kind of regime. I was still treating myself at the weekend. I was still sort of
like it.
I've always had a curry on a Friday night, for example. A couple of beers.
Yeah.
So whilst I wasn't having as much beer or eating that unhealthy throughout the week, I'd use that Friday, sort of the end of the week, as the time. So if I looked at, like, on a Wednesday, I fancied a bacon sandwich at work or some chips for lunch, I'd think to myself, no, wait till you finish work. And I was living on my own, so it's my little Friday night treat. It was my way of sort of getting through it. And basically, I lost the weight, and then I got to a point where I couldn't lose any more. Another sort of 4 weeks went by, and I was thinking, I'm doing the same thing.
Hit a wall.
It got quite addictive, you know, the thought of getting healthier, and I was feeling fit already. So basically, what I did then was I had an old pair of trainers, stuck them on, and went for a run, and it was horrendous. It was absolutely.
I love how you say it's horrendous, because like the reason I'm asking about all this stuff is because, like, me personally, although I'm cut and I'm fit and I hate going for a run. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I struggle to just get on the gear and get out the door and go for a run. Like, I just find it too boring, and so this is why I wanted to just bring you onto our show and to inspire people to have that bit of drive. And I love how, like, just basic, you explain it, like, yeah, I just got some old running shoes, just like, I just put them on, I just went for a run, and I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's the hardest part, is actually, like, it's not necessarily during the run when you hit that wall, you're at the same pace, and you're feeling it, but you keep on pushing through, it's just literally getting out and going for a run. I don't know what you're feeling about that.
Definitely, you've just got to get up. It's really hard to know. Right? We're lucky today. It was raining this morning.
Yeah.
It's amazing now. And so different things sort of impact the motivation. But I found something within me to stick on these trainers, get out the door. And I used to run about 1.5 miles, and now that seems like nothing. It seems like I could get up and do that. But it was horrendous. It was horrible. It took me 20 minutes. You know, I was really, really slow and sluggish. I was paranoid about people looking at me because of my weight. And, you know, I lived in a hilly area at the time, so I was having to sort of trudge up these hills. And I got into this habit of doing it every day after work, before my tea. You know, sometimes it allowed me to have a bit more tea because I felt like I doing it. And it was those things, I just kept going, you know, and it was 5 days a week, and then I'd have a weekend off, I'd have my curry and a few beers, and come to watch football at the weekend, and do those kind of things. But it was kind of it was a lonely existence, you know, from having people around me. Don't get me wrong, I've got sort of close family, and I've got those friends, but it become quite a lonely sort of getting up, going to work, going for a run, and having tea, you know, all these things. And I just persevered with it. I don't know why on this occasion I do know why actually. The weight started coming off again. So straight away I was still in that sort of routine with my diet. I started calling that a change. You know, I didn't like the word diet.
I don't either, because it means it's like a temporary thing that ain't going to last.
Yeah, and it's always you're going to beat yourself up when you fall off the
exactly.
wagon, kind of. You know, so it was a case of starting to use different sort of terms, watch different things, looking at different things. I was running, seeing the weight come off, and then it was just by chance really. I saw a tweet as somebody mentioned park run.
All right.
The word park run.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's a run on a Saturday morning where they do them in local parks and people just go along. It's like a free time 5k. You can run, walk, or however you want to get around. You know, so I went along to this thing and I had an absolute nightmare of a morning of it. I went from Arnold, where I was living, to Colic Park over here, and I lost my key and I didn't know where it was and I was late. And then I felt like giving up and turning around and going home, you know. And I just did it. I got there and I just ran this 5k, and it's the first time I'd ever run 5k. And then I've got like they send you a text message in the time when you sort of scan in at the end, a text message with a time on side. And I got this time, and then all of a sudden everything changed because I'd watched people there running for fun. I didn't get it.
I'm still trying to get it. I'm like, what? You had fun, like going for a run? What's that about?
I really didn't get it. I didn't understand what they were doing. I thought everybody was doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, weight loss or mental health or those things, you know, or to encourage kids or whatever. But I didn't really realise it was actually like a bit like a community and people said hello to each other.
Almost like family in a way. A new type of.
And when I finished, I was absolutely sort of dead on my feet when some guy come up to me and patted me on the back and said, "You got me round," you know, by being behind me.
Wow.
And that's how it kind of works there. And I'd done that off somebody in front of me. And then I went home and I was thinking about it all day. I thought, this thing's amazing, you know, this thing's sort of awesome. People do this and have fun. And I carried on running sort of on my own during the week, and I went again the next week. Yeah. And then I started getting quicker, and I lost more weight. By October of that year, so my aim was to lose 2 stone in a year. I'd lost 6 stone in the first year.
Smashing it out, yeah.
You know, and I'd run the Robin Hood half marathon, which finished just along here. You know, and this was all within 6 months of making these big decisions to change. It just all went on from there, and it all developed.
Nice one, mate. Thanks for that. So, mate, we're going to go for a little cheeky run now. You happy with that? We'll go for a cheeky run?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it then. So, guys, we want to say we just had a little intro. Just Des and I chatting about running and a bit of an intro into his struggle about getting to this place. We're going to carry on the chat. If it's a little bit bouncy and bumpy, we ain't got full stabilisation on the cameras, but we're going to do our best, mate. So yeah, we'll just go for a little light jog. You ready, mate? Go on then. Oh. So yeah, you was mentioning about you got to the place where you lost, was it 6 stone in the end?
Yeah. 6 stone.
That's amazing.
I went from 19.5 stone.
Yeah.
I got to 13.2. So it was,
that's incredible.
And that was by the October of that year. So
yeah.
But making the decision in February, actually really getting into it in March.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was, and it just made a massive difference.
Yeah.
Things started to kind of take shape and happen on the back of it.
What I want to ask you is something you mentioned that really stood out to me in the first 10 minutes of this interview. You said, we've got to go up with the grass. Hey, look, we're blocked off, guys. You said something really interesting. You said that I was in a lonely place, and I know a lot of blokes who relate to that. Sorry guys, the wind is a bit heavy. But yeah, can you just describe, like, to our viewers what that lonely place looks like for you? Because I know that's the main reason why I started in Light in the Shadows, but you said you got to a point, didn't you, where your weight was getting a bit like heavy for you and you just felt quite lonely. But you mentioned, you said earlier, you said, you know, it's not that I didn't have any friends or I didn't have family, because you do. So you can just like show that viewers a little bit about that, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with, don't they? They've got family, they've got friends, but actually they still feel lonely.
Yeah. So basically, I mentioned I've been in a relationship quite a long term, 7 years. So that had all sat, for one reason or another, come to an end. You know, so some of my friends was kind of connected through that. My ex-girlfriend's brother-in-law in particular was a good friend, and obviously there's a natural kind of distance, and although we still spoke, you know, there was no reason not to speak, but it was a good friend there. Like I say, my friends from school was all growing up doing their different things, you know, getting married, and when you become single again, you want to go out, you want to sort of get into town and see what's available and all those things.
Absolutely, no, a lot of people relate to that watching for sure, mate.
But I'd ask the question, is anybody out, and things like that, and people obviously got their own lives and commitments and wives. And to be honest, we're on form. I come from Westwood, which is quite a tough area.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, whilst it's not, that didn't impact anything in terms of the way I live my everyday life.
Yeah.
People's mindset's a little bit different. It's kind of like, how can I put it? You just move on. Do you know what I mean? You just keep going. You know, and my family and the people around me aren't used to being as open. Like I said before, there's no issue. Like, I grew up quite happy and, you know, sort of a little bit shy, as I mentioned. So sort of speaking out has always been a bit of a problem, you know, and saying what I think. And then when you need to sort of let all this out, what's building up, you only become aware of it, I guess, in your mid-30s. It just gets harder and harder as you get older.
So good, that's so true.
So it's like, it's really tough.
He's got me, guys, huffing and puffing, he's chatting away, he's not struggling whatsoever. Here I've got a beautiful view on the River Trent, as you can see here. We're a blessed city. We've got Nottinghamshire Cricket Ground, we've got Trent Bridge, England come play there sometimes. We've got Meadow Lane, the Magpies, and come on you Reds, we've got Nottingham Forest over there. But yeah, I actually got engaged on this bridge.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You got one of these padlocks?
Yeah, we did, but it got robbed. I think they cut it off because the weight can actually bring the bridge down, like. But we got engaged just near the end of the left side there for our viewers. So yeah, I wanted to have a little walk down here because I know the wind's quite heavy for the viewers. So I just wanted to really hone in on this point about this loneliness, because I relate to that as well. Like, I'm quite an extroverted fellow that a lot of people think is absolutely brilliant all the time, but not everyone knows what goes on in this mind of mine, and how I can be very opinionated and chat out, but then when I'm struggling in my mind, I daren't say anything in fear of being like judged or people like going to be overly worried about me. But do you know, you said this is a really big point about this loneliness, and you mentioned in your 30s, because I think a lot of fellas struggle with this as well. Like, you know, the world goes around and it has certain stereotypes and rhythms, doesn't it? Like, people in their late 20s, early 30s, like, start settling down, as you say, and you find people like want to get married, get into a relationship and all stuff like that. And there's people like yourself, and a little bit like me, because I got married like late 20s, but I know exactly what you're saying. There's that vibe where you feel like, well, what have I got now? Like, they're all settled now, and whenever I try and hang out with them, they're like, they're too busy, or they're with their missus, or they're just not available, you know what I'm saying? So then you go, well, I feel even more lonelier, because how can I know I want to open up to them, like, in fear that they might be too busy to talk to me, let alone like really listen to what I'm saying about how I'm feeling and I'm struggling in my life, sort of thing. But yeah.
And That's one of the things. Being an introvert.
Should we go for a jog because you're fitter than me? Go on.
Naturally, being an introvert.
Yeah.
The people around me who I spent much of my life on, my family and my friends, probably didn't realise how shy I was.
Yeah.
So again, that's created barriers in time where, like, oh, what's up with him now? Normally he's okay. Do you know? When I know people, I'm not shy. I'm not concerned. And even today, like, obviously, I'm always putting myself outside my comfort zone now. And sort of encouraging people and trying to be positive and saying come for a run and do this. And when I'm not quite with it, well, it's not that I'm not quite with it. When I'm just a little bit quiet and reflective, because that's my natural kind of state, it's really hard sometimes because then people assume that there's something wrong, but are used to you being sort of the one pushing everything. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely, mate.
So I kind of found that back then as well. Whilst I wasn't trying to do too much or push situations like I try to today, I found that people probably just kind of assumed I was okay. Do you know? Because I wouldn't necessarily say I feel rubbish, I'm not feeling great. Do you know? It was just a case of, for me, just keep sort of going about my daily business and trying to make those changes.
Do you think, like, us fellas, like, I don't know which one it is, do you feel like we don't have the skill or language to start opening up to talk about when we ask someone how they're feeling, they go, no, I'm absolutely crap. Like, we don't really know what to do or say, or do you think we presume that people are alright? Like, because you said that you're the guy that seems to be pushing and running things and you're quite positive, but then they just presume that's always the case. Like, what do you think it is with us fellas? Like, why do you think we need to keep doing what we're doing by having things like Enlighten the Shadows and do running? What do you think we struggle with?
Yeah, I just think it's definitely an issue. It's definitely a problem, and I think what we fall into that sort of mates trap. So we're talking, you know, and we fall into, because I've always been one for going to the football or playing Sunday morning football. And when you're with your mates, you kind of fall into that trap. Do you know, it wasn't until I started doing different things and meeting new people, sort of came over to the area we're in now, basically, and sort of started a running group, that you meet these new people, these people start feeding off some of your positive changes.
Got you.
And it creates natural conversation, but it's kind of on the problem, well, not the problem, but what I was kind of thinking, they was talking to me one-on-one, but the sort of voice in the back of my head was telling me I was talking above my station, if you get what I mean. Yeah, it's like a self-critique, like you haven't got the knowledge or the credibility to be like that, so what you're on about, it's like that. It's like you're your own worst critic, aren't you? Yeah. It's like that dark voice of doubt that I'm sure we've all got, that says, I'm not good enough, or you don't know what you're on about, mate, sort of thing. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was feeling was happening. Yeah. But your question, why do we do it? I think it's that thing of just defaulting to what we know. Yeah. Getting back into our comfort zone. Do you know, and I feel now with some of the changes, speaking to different people, that it's not until you really push yourself and make the changes. Yeah. And I mentioned the 3 initial changes. What I'm trying to do all the time now is all the things that we're told to do. Yeah. Not necessarily told, but through sort of the things you might watch online, successful people, and you know, I try and make some of those changes because it's about the changes, and we all need that bit of advice. And if you've never done it before, you feel like you're getting out of your comfort zone, whether it's something you actually know or never done before, if you get what I mean. Yeah, definitely. I think we're getting a lot better because of the internet. Like, a lot of people slag off
social media, and they slag off all the negative things that happen on there. But actually, there are some really good things happening on the internet. Like, it's a platform for you and I, where we can share our struggles, where we can share all the stuff with mental health or fitness in your case, and create that community, as you mentioned earlier in the interview, and create a sense of belonging where people feel like I'm comfortable around these people, you know, because I think we go into different scenarios or people groups or, you know, job realms or clubs or whatever, and we think, well, I don't know what they're going to think about me. And then you start questioning, you 1,000 thoughts going in your head, and you're like, do I belong here? What do they think about me? But
yeah, it's the classic imposter syndrome, isn't it? And that's only really a term I've come across recently.
Yeah.
You know, setting up Do Daily and chatting to people every day through that sort of platform. But when I look back now to when I came into the sort of running circle and meeting new people and getting involved in sort of events and putting things on,
yeah,
I realised I felt like an imposter then too. But I managed.
Right, yeah.
What I'm kind of working off now is I got through that. You know, I got through that difficult time when I didn't know what to do. You know, 5 years ago, and then I made this sort of, it wasn't rash, but this decision to go and run and stick to it. That's how it was.
Jenna, just didn't stop running, mate. It's brilliant. I just love it. I'm so inspired by your story. I am, like, and you must think, what you on about, mate? You know, you're a fit lad, and even though I've stopped a few times, but you know, I am inspired by your story, and I'm so glad, like, we can spend some time together and do this, because there are a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, who will struggle to just get out of the house to exercise. Like, sometimes just waking up in the morning is tough enough as it is, you know, to actually get out of bed with a positive mindset, or to tackle their day, or go out to work when they really just can't be arsed, or they've got stresses at work and people that, you know, trigger them and make them just feel like crap. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, one of the things I learned, I mentioned there about getting back into work, and because what really dawned on me, where the mental health first came in, even before I realised, I was just starting to get into the running, and before I realised how much that was helping, I was at work, and I've always been the kind of person to do stuff for people, do too much sometimes, get taken advantage of, you know? And that's one of the things we have to kind of manage. But I get myself into, just by trying to do a good job, I probably offend people and get into the wrong scenario, you know, and say the wrong thing, trying to be nice, trying to say the right thing.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I think that's a classic sign of poor mental health, isn't it? You know, getting yourself into situations that you really shouldn't. You know, you just might be trying to answer a question where maybe you should stay out of the conversation. Do you get what I mean? And
Yeah.
when I got back into work, I felt that was happening, and I thought, I really need to step back and look at this now, you know, and do all the positive things I'm doing. Don't sort of get too involved and try and help. I want to help, and I'll help where it's needed.
Yeah.
You know, but it was really difficult for me to stop gauging people again, and now engaging with people, you know, and building those relationships. Having gone through that sort of transitional period of being on my own for a while, you know, and then once I started sort of building those relationships at work, and then sort of getting that confidence back of being around people again. Then it gave me the confidence to attend more running events. Start talking to people, you know, just strangers, you know, people who were doing the same things, and I just started doing more and more. I was doing more events. I was going to park run every week, still running in my own time when I could. But what I was finding was I started then to get, because of the weight loss and the fact I was getting better at running, I started getting bigger aspirations with it all. You know, I wanted to run 10k. I mentioned the Robin Hood half marathon, and I had kind of a time in mind. And it's funny we mention that now, because this is the finish straight.
Yeah.
So we're literally on the finish straight.
It reminds me of, like, I had an episode with Cleo Whitehead, episode
12, she was mentioning about that we're not just like the physical, like we are like 3 or 4 part beings, like there's the mind, the body, the soul, and if you've got religious beliefs, the spirit and that. And like you mentioned it and just typified that about, we think that because if we go for a run regularly that we're alright, and I can relate to this massively. Played football all my life, always been fit, been out like professional academies as a kid, went to America on a soccer scholarship for 4 years, and you know, I always thought, oh yeah, I'm fine because I'm healthy, I'm fit. But inside my head, deep down, there was regressed memories and thoughts, traumas, all sorts that I had no self-awareness at. That I thought, yeah, I'm whole, I'm all right. And you mentioned, you know, I wasn't right, even though I started going running, and my exercise was getting better. And I think that's one of my passions for Enlighten the Shadows, is you being more self-aware. Like, because there's just, mental health is so complex, but yet I think we know so little about it. And I say we, I'd say the world. And it's important that we create these platforms and have amazing chats like this.
Yeah, Des, mate, I just want to ask you a little bit about the Do Running Club and the dynamics and relationships, and about what goes on in the running club itself and the type of blokes that you meet. You've got a really, no other words to put it than like just a sad story to share. Can you just enlighten our viewers about one of the fellas that was part of the club and what happened there and what your reactions and thoughts were?
Yeah, so when we started the club back in February 2017, I actually started, I didn't know who was going to turn up on the first day. We got 40 guys turned up, which was really impressive. And straight away I got to know a chap called Jamie. He was into his football, similar age, similar situation. Really, really likeable chap, good looking. Seemed to be busy, you know a lot of people, you know, really, really popular. And not long, that sort of built every time we'd meet. Sort of at the time the group was a Wednesday and a Sunday, and we'd talk about Forest and what we thought about the weekend. I remember one chat in particular about a game, and then I turned up one Sunday to hear the news that he'd passed. He'd lost his battle with mental health, and it kind of hit me like a brick wall. You know, like I said, I could familiarise with him, so I could understand his situation, similar age and similar circumstances, and it really sort of, whilst I'd never really considered what I was doing was about mental health and those things, it was slightly, as I've touched on already, but it really hit me then that whilst I felt in control of my situation, it could have easily have gone sort of much worse, got much worse. And having to stand up, like I was not used to standing up and doing a brief in front of the group. I was still getting used to that. And then this Sunday morning I had to tell sort of 20 odd people what had happened, having heard the message myself, and it was really difficult. It was really, really tough, and a lot of the ladies sort of burst out into tears, and because this guy had that much of an impact in such a short space of time. And for me it really hit home because he'd been for about the first 8 or 10 sessions, and then over a 3 or 4 week period I'd not seen him, and because I was still sort of getting used to meeting people, and it kind of, it made me think, oh, I wonder what Jamie's up to. I wonder if he doesn't like the club or doesn't like what it's about. Didn't know of any of these issues. But the reason I was thinking that was because he seemed to really embrace what I was trying to create. I wanted this really interactive, friendly, sort of a group where people post their own things in, look for advice. Do you know, and every week he came, he was taking videos. I remember one in particular by Home Pierpont. It was absolutely throwing it down, and he's got this video chatting away, encouraging people to come and join us. And even to this day, as much as the community is fantastic and amazing, my thought is that nobody got it like Jamie did. And it strikes me because it makes me believe that he was really trying. We hear all the time about it being the easy option, it being the easy way out. I don't think it was the easy option. I think it was him really, really trying to look after himself in some of the ways that I said I have. You know, trying to make things better for himself, but obviously, I don't know what, but something might have happened to really sort of bring him back down and made him do what he did. And what it did after that, I ran the Manchester Marathon and quickly put a charity sort of event together for it, and lots of people got behind it. You know, the group really then embraced mental health because I was talking about it. I've always tried to be open and honest with my feelings, as I've touched on already. But really sort of then passing the message across about mental health, and kind of made that the centre point of the group. You know, that we're going to talk to each other, we're going to be honest, we're going to be open. What we do after each session is tend to stick around. Initially we used to meet in a pub, but it gave us the perfect setting to get together. People can stay as long as they want. If not, if they don't fancy staying, you know, just come and go as they please. And it gives them that sort of no obligation, that easy feeling. It's quite hard a lot of the time going into a group. So to have that sort of feeling, and to then for people to be looking into the social media and thinking, well, they're quite happy to talk about this and they're quite honest and relatable. I think it's a great thing, and it's kind of a legacy been built. Jamie, there was a bit of a fundraiser through relations and people that knew Jamie, and they used the hashtag #OurJamie. So we kind of carried that on as well, sharing #OurJamie. And when I ran the Manchester Marathon, I ran with a Forest shirt on. Do you know the connection? And it had #OurJamie hashtag 34, his age. He was 34 at the time. So it was a really sad sort of start to what we do, but from that adversity, it's really sort of developed the group and the community into what it's become today.
And you said something that's real potent about, it's a few weeks that went by and I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's all right. Like, and it does provoke you even now, like just having this chat, and then people who are watching this episode, like, when was the last time I reached out to someone that I know? Am I bothered enough about people around me? It's not about feeling condemned about what happened to Jamie. Like, Jamie had his battles that he had to face himself, and, you know, bless his soul, like, he's gone now. Like, we can't bring Jamie back. We can't redo what was done or wasn't done for or around Jamie. Like, Jamie had his life, you've got your life, I've got mine, but we've got to learn as a society, not, you know, running clubs or in Light in the Shadows or Nottingham. It's everyone. It's the whole of this nation, the whole of the world. We've got to speak more with people and recognise that if we leave it too long and someone ain't talking or you ain't heard from them, then we've got to be just on it. We've got to reach out.
Well, one of the things I do now, I make sure, whilst I couldn't have foreseen that situation, you know, I didn't know Jamie well enough to know that was an issue. One of the things I really make an effort with is messaging people. At the time, I was kind of thinking, I don't want to be pushy in what I'm trying to do, you know, but now I've got to kind of forget everything else, you know, forget running clubs, forget my relationships with people sometimes, is just ask them. The start of lockdown in particular, I made a point a lot of messaging people saying, do you want to go for a walk? Do you know, I wouldn't even ask them how they felt. Do you know, people I felt who have been a regular at the group, but because of lockdown, that distance has been put between us, and then you just sense that people aren't dealing with it as well as perhaps I was or others. So I've made a real effort during lockdown to every couple of weeks just think about who I've not spoke to, who I've not sort of heard from for a while, who I've not seen on Facebook or on Strava or on anything like that. And that, even to the point where through Do Daily, what I try to do as well is set little challenges up, you know, little daily challenges sometimes, like text a mate, you know, just a little thing, and just to get people thinking of, without sort of really forcing them to think about mental health, because we know how much people can get standoffish as well. So it's just those little things you can do just to make that little bit of a difference, and encourage people to still use what's around them.
100%. And we say this to viewers as well, like, really take on board what we're sharing you today. This is hard hitting stuff. Like, this is real. This is a real life account of a fella that we've lost as a result of just us not being good at this. And we can put our hands up and say, like, there's room to improve. And, you know, I just want to put it out there to us all that as Des has said, it's important that we're constantly reaching out and balancing it by that we have a laugh sometimes and that we don't take life too seriously, but also that we're being intentional. I think that's the key word that I'm getting out of this chat, is that we're intentional. We're intentional in our relationships. It's not just shallow or superficial in its nature, but that if you are like noticing a little bit of absence or even a change of character or someone's not quite themselves, that we're just taking that question just to say, oh, you're right, mate, I've noticed this about you, just to show that you care. So yeah, I'm loving it. Thank you so much for opening that part of this chat, Des. Nice one.
I think it's really, really important. Out of everything we've said today is to kind of highlight that issue. And like I say, a lot has come off from that kind of adversity in doing good going forward.
Brilliant. So thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah. The only reason I just want to say to our viewers that the only reason why we haven't gone on a full-on marathon pace run and wanted to go all out is because I just wouldn't be able to talk, and you've done an amazing job just talking and jogging.
I'm a really heavy breather, so even that is...
Exactly. We've achieved something today. I tell you guys, we try and mix it up for you to bring a bit of versatility in what we're doing and not have too much samey business going on Zoom. But yeah, we've had a beautiful scenery. We've got the River Trent out here. And as I said, that's where I got engaged. But yeah, we've had an amazing time jogging and running today. But one thing I want to ask you, Des, is something I always speak about right at the end of my episode. It's a question, I call it Enlighten the Shallows question. And I didn't prep you for this because I wanted to be quite organic and come to I feel like we've opened our minds and had a small jog today. But what I want to ask you to enlighten our viewers with is, what would be your advice to a fellow who's just completely hopeless? They feel like there's no point living anymore and they just want to end it, like say today, and if they're watching this now, what would be your advice for them?
To be honest, of course, don't give up, there's always a better day coming, just recently I've had a bit of a tough time with some personal situations. And again, it gets to the point where you're thinking, oh, the world's against me, We still get those feelings, despite the fact we can recognise it a bit more. But you've just got to sort of push through, sleep on it, You generally wake up a little bit better, Of course, if you can, get out for a run, get out for a walk. I was injured a lot this year, start of the year. So I got out walking at the start of lockdown because I knew I needed to do that walking just to give me some sort of personal satisfaction, to clear my head. Time to think, I can enjoy what we're doing, work, it's what you get from that walk. You can do other things with it and almost forget you're doing exercise. So for me, of course, it's been the theme of what we're talking about. The big thing is to get out there, get some exercise in. But if you're really at your wit's end, is just don't give up. I remember thinking at that time, where do I talk to now? And I actually considered talking to the Samaritan because I didn't know how to sort of manage my life. I've always been in control of everything I've done. I'm an organiser. I'm one who likes to, despite all that sort of shyness, likes to lead things like the running groups and things like that. But I considered that, and that's what made me, because I didn't know how to control my life anymore. I didn't know where it was going from that point. It felt like it was spiraling out of control. And then I just went, it can't be any worse. So I went to bed, I got up in the morning, whatever you take to bed. I've always struggled with sleeping throughout my life, and it's part of my broader issue, I guess. But you wake up slightly better frame of mind. You go again. For me, it was looking forward to that one in the evening. Whilst the work wasn't particularly easy, like I mentioned just there, get through the day at work, paycheck in the bank at the weekend,
Get that money in.
And those few beers, it was always, the target was always those few beers on the Friday evening, at the end of the week. And it's not a great way to live really, just sort of day to day, week to week. But when that's what you need to do, that's what you really have to do, is just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep yourself out there and being sort of, for me personally, being approachable, being kind, keep talking to people, keep treating people the way you want to be treated, and it'll come right.
Come on, it's the golden rule. There you go, fellas. You had it. This was Des from Do Running, and don't give up. He's saying, do not give up. I know you feel like you want to quit, but trust me, there's a lot of testimonies of stories of people who have wanted to commit suicide, and very minimal people have survived. And those who have survived completely regretted it from the utmost of their heart and wish they'd never even tried. And they realise they appreciate their life so much more. So, go to bed, sleep on it. Don't do anything rash. Have a think. Wake up in the morning. As my man says here, just try and go for a run if you can. Smoothing it out. And as he said, the golden rule, which I'm all about as a Christian, is treat others how you want to be treated. That's a massive value to have in your life, and it will always come back eventually for you. Des, before we say bye to you, and thank you so much for being on episode 14. Can you just blast them with your social media, YouTube stuff, just about what to look for?
Yeah, so basically, Do Running's a community. Obviously, running's in the title, but now we're, particularly since the start of lockdown, we're looking to sort of incorporate different types of activities. So cycling, walking. What I do on a week-to-week basis is work off a 7-day plan. So we've got Monday motivation, Tuesday training, Wednesday workout, Thursday thoughts, attack the day, Saturday selfie, and then an occasional Sunday social, like what you do, try and get someone to get involved. So what I'm asking people to do is just get involved as much or as little as they want. Use whichever day they need to use, which suits for them. I try and create activities sort of where we can do it in solidarity, do it virtually, but not. Obviously right now in lockdown we can't meet in the big groups. In more normal times I'd have we have group sessions from different locations, and we have a big group turn up and we do it together, and the strength of the group was formed on that. But now I'm just looking to expand it as big as I can.
Come on, there you go.
Get as many people wherever they are in the world to take part. Check out what it's all about. It's you can find us in a closed Facebook group, Do Running. There's also a Do Running page on Facebook. And then I've got Do Running 19 on Twitter and Instagram.
Love it.
And of course I now do Daily, which is something similar to what Rory's doing.
Yeah, come on.
Just a short 10-15 minutes each day at 6 o'clock, just to discuss how I'm feeling, try and be honest and relatable, and get the message across that. And you can follow that on Instagram at Do Daily 2020, and of course there's a YouTube channel set up.
Amazing, mate. Top man. But yeah, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 14 with Des from Do Running, and the camera might have been a bit like this, but I just want to thank you guys for all your support, all your love, all your energy, and I'm just believing that it's a sign of big things to come from Light the Shadows. We're linking up with the community. This is why we've interviewed Des here from Do Running, and we're really grateful for our journey we're going on. So join us on YouTube, click subscribe, and then also on the social media we've got Twitter and Instagram at Enlighten the SH1. We love you guys so much. Have an amazing week. We hope you enjoyed this different episode. We hope the wind and the camera hasn't affected it too much. But join us again next time. I'm going to have a great week. God bless you guys. See ya.